Good morning, everyone. We are in our second week of the Do-Over series, and I just wanted to say first that I'm really grateful for all of you for exploring this topic with us in a really safe and loving and open way. And I also wanted to reiterate what we talked about last week, that we're not doing this do-over series to try to learn how to do it perfectly now or get it right, quote unquote. But it's more just about trying and trying to unlearn things and to learn how to care for our whole true selves and for others well. And so last week we talked about how the church and people are not all bad or all good, and we talked about welcoming people for who they are and how we can do that a little bit better. And this week we're going to try to maybe take it a level deeper, if you will, and talk about meeting people where they're at and how emotions are not all bad or all good, right? So emotions, that's a tricky topic. I have a 2-year-old, if that tells you anything. And if you know her father, Daniel, our worship leader, then you already know that big emotions were coming my way when I had a child, right? When I have a toddler. And so we're in the full swing of talking about emotions with Elena and teaching her about it, and we have no idea what we're doing, okay? But we're lucky in the sense that she doesn't often have these really huge tantrums where she's inconsolable, yelling and screaming. They happen, but it's not a lot. And as much as I would love to say it's because, we're these amazing parents and we're totally acing this parenting thing, don't be fooled. It's because somehow this 2-year-old has already learned to hide her emotions, right? So sometimes when she's really sad, she'll start crying, but she'll just rub her eyes really hard and say, clean my tears, and put on this really watery smile. Or when she falls down, then she'll just get back up. And even if she's hurt, she'll say, I fell, but I didn't cry though. And it's really trying to be a tough girl. And then I'm over here dealing with my trauma of feeling I had to hold in my feelings when I was younger. And I'm no, you cry, let it out. Overcompensating almost, trying to make her cry a little bit. No, you're sad, right? Say you're sad. Come on, cry. You're sad. So it's not pretty. It's a hot mess over here. And to be honest, I'm a little bit confused how this happened, because Daniel and I are the millennial, hippie, gentle parents. No, it's okay. You could cry. Feel your feelings, girl. Daniel, go get your guitar. Should we sing a song about how you're feeling a little sad right now, Elena? And so I don't really understand what's going on. So I've just been blaming it on Frozen, right? Because there was a period of time where Elena was 1 year old, and she would sit in the corner by herself singing be a good girl, you always have to be. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know. And it was really funny. A little concerning, but mostly funny. I think it was okay, right? But it's really hard as a parent to watch her deal with these really, really strong emotions. I feel really torn. Do I jump in? Do I let her cry it out? Do I teach her to regulate? Am I not letting her regulate, feel her emotions enough before she regulates? And so it's been a lot for me to deal with, and I think a big part of it is because of my upbringing and my natural inclination to also conceal, don't feel, right? And I've been on a process of unpacking that and seeking healing in that. And as I've been doing that, I realized that my upbringing in the church has contributed to this inclination a little bit. And so, I wanted to explore that a little bit today. I think for me, it goes back to my Sunday school days where, we learn the memory verse, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And as a child, the way that I internalized this was trusting God is good, my understanding is bad, right? And so as I grew up and became a teenager, felt all those emotions, it became whenever I would go through a hard time, remember, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Trust in God. Don't lean on what you think or what you feel. Don't listen to your feelings. Turn off your gut feelings. Turn off your desires. Just give it to God and forget about it, right? And yes, this is a very rudimentary interpretation of this verse, but I think we often hear things in the church that are basically to the same effect of like, let go and let God, right? So we hear things like, if you're feeling anxious, you just got to hold on to God and have faith in Him. Or if we know someone who lost a family member or a close friend, then we say like, it's okay, they're with God now. Or like God has a plan, right? And He's taking care of everything. So don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about it, right? And if we are allowing people to worry or feel anxious for a little bit of time, like there is a point, like an arbitrary point of time where if you feel anxious or if you feel depressed beyond that, then maybe you need to start learning to trust God a little bit more, right? And all these things make it so that this verse that seemed harmless or like helpful to teach in the church, it's become this tool that shuts down and even shames certain feelings in ourselves and in others as well. And so I want to pause here and just clarify, like trusting in God is a good thing. It's not bad. And being secure and trusting God is a wonderful, wonderful fruit of our relationship with them. And, sometimes there are times where we don't know what else to do but trust God. And I fully believe that God is capable of doing anything. And so, yes, if He wanted to take away our bad feelings and help us trust Him more, they would be able to do that. But I don't think that's how it always works, right? And we can't always just skip over our feelings and get to the trusting God part. But sometimes when we hear these phrases in the church, we feel that way. We feel like we should be able to dismiss our feelings and just trust God more. Or worse, we feel like maybe we're doing something wrong for having these feelings at all. And so, although these phrases are not all bad or all good, the way that the church has used it to encourage blind, passive faith is not good, right? And this just leads people to feel shame for having these feelings and for not being able to be happy-go-lucky all the time. Basically, for being human, right? And love, love does not shame, right? Our God does not shame. They don't shame us into trusting them. They invite us, right? Our God always invites us. And I think now they're inviting us to a do-over. And so what does that look like? I wanted to use this image from a book called There's No Right Way to Meditate by Yumi Sakugawa. And so this first image is kind of, to me, what happens when we try to just shut down our feelings and have blind faith in God, right? So we yell at our emotions. We say like, why don't you feel better already? You should just be able to trust in God. Or maybe it's not like as loud. Maybe if it's more of a quiet voice, like, I know I shouldn't feel this way. But as the image shows, a lot of times simply trying to just shove our feelings away doesn't actually make them go away, right? They continue to weigh on us. As we see here. And sometimes it might even make us more upset and make us feel worse about ourselves when they don't go away. And so that's kind of like where we're at now. The do-over is shown in the second image, which says, sometimes if you take the time to feel the texture and ridges of your anxiety, it feels just a little less heavy than it was before. And so what does taking time to feel texture and ridges mean? Basically just means seeing emotions as just emotions, right? Not inherently bad or good. It's just, they're there. It's just emotions that are objectively here and accepting that they happen and that they come up. And yes, some feelings feel worse than others, sure, but that doesn't mean that they are bad or to be ignored or even condemned, right? In fact, feelings, whether they're labeled good or bad or positive or negative, can all serve us. They can all help us. And so actually these feelings are for you and for your benefit. There is an author and coach named Shirzad Shamin, and he compares these quote-unquote bad feelings to touching a hot stove. And so, yes, it doesn't feel good at all, but it is alerting us to something that needs to be adjusted or changed, right? So if we never felt the pain from touching the hot stove, then we might risk burning our whole hand off. And in the same way, if we never felt these bad feelings, then we could cause even more pain to ourselves, right? And so for me, I learned that if I don't take care of my emotional and mental wellness, it leaks out and affects my physical wellness too. So I personally grind my teeth and clench my teeth in my sleep, and it's caused a lot of problems. And maybe for you, it's like you just feel exhausted all the time because you just have all these emotions built up inside, or maybe it's affecting your gut health and your appetite. And so all of our feelings and all of our bodies, they are there to alert us to something, to help us out. They can help us grow, change, and hopefully not make the same mistakes over and over again, right? And so really our feelings are valid and sacred and worthy of being heard and trusted. Because God created us all with feelings, right? And we even see that God has feelings. So a maybe obvious example is when Jesus wept, right? And I just kept thinking about that and how he could have so easily just shut everyone's feelings down and said, no, just trust me. He already knew what was happening. He already knew what was going to happen. He could have felt nothing, but he wept, right? And he saw Mary and he saw Martha and he saw their grief and their sadness. And then he felt it too. He wept too, right? And I think it just, people saw that and they saw wow, he loves Lazarus, right? And Jesus really sat with and felt his own feelings, even though he knew and trusted in what was going to happen. He trusted in God, right? And so not only did God give us feelings, God feels their feelings too, right? And we see throughout the Bible, we see them, they feel sad, they feel jealous, they feel mad, they feel excitement and jubilee, right? And all of these feelings, they're not all quote unquote good feelings, right? God feels some bad feelings too, right? And if God allows themselves to feel all the spectrum of feelings, being made in God's image means that we also have full permission to feel all of our feelings, good, bad, and everything in between, right? They're just emotions and part of being a human. And so God is inviting us and our feelings as we are, right? They're not shutting it down. They're not just shutting our feelings down. And on top of that, our feelings don't inherently dictate how good or bad our relationship with God is, right? It's not oh, wow, you must have a really good relationship with God because you trust him and you never have any bad feelings, right? It's you trust in God and you can have these bad feelings, right? You trust God and you feel scared, or you trust God and this sucks, right? It's both and. And so trusting God doesn't mean just shut down your feelings, right? We don't want to numb ourselves anymore. We want to lean into our feelings and treat ourselves with gentleness and listen to our feelings and trust them. And the great thing is that we don't have to do this alone, right? It might feel hard for some of us. It might feel scary and new. It might feel foreign. It might feel like you've done it a lot, but it's still really hard. But we never have to do this process alone, right? You can trust God with your feelings, right? They want to be with you during this process. They want to sit with you, and we can trust that they can handle it, right? We can give them all their feelings and they can handle it, and that they'll still love us unconditionally. And we can trust that they have created us with our own feelings and with our own bodies to be our allies and to use those as resources too. And He's also given us other people, right? He gave us people to sit with our feelings, that we can share our feelings with, and support us. And so one example of this is the Fuel Up group, right? And so we talked about fueling up a few years ago in a series called People Fuel. And shortly after that, I started my own Fuel Up group with Megan Higaki and with another person that used to attend Westlight. And it's been really powerful for me to practice sharing my feelings and without minimizing it or dismissing it, and to practice like creating space and taking up space for myself. And it's also been really, really healing for me to feel like heard and understood and connected in a way that I hadn't really experienced before. But I really, really wanted that for a really long time. And so I think that's what God really desires for us too, is for us to all have spaces where we feel seen and known and loved and accepted for all of who we are, by God and also by ourselves and by other people around us. But for today, I wanted to just practice making space for your feelings and for your needs, right? I think it's really important to learn how to create space for other people, to be safe people for others. But Westlight, you are already above and beyond helpful and caring and supportive, and always so quick to offer support and practical help when other people need it. You know, I personally have been on the receiving end of all of your generosity. And so we have a lot of practice in that. And so today I wanted to lean into tuning into and acknowledging and valuing our own feelings and needs, because that also helps us become a healthier community in church. And so that's going to be the focus of our practice today. So to help us kind of transition and settle in, I wanted to share the adapted version of The Big Welcome by Dr. Christina Cleveland, which my mom shared last week. But it's basically just a way to welcome ourselves into this space, to give ourselves permission to be in this space as we are. Just invite ourselves into it. So here is The Big Welcome, the adapted version of The Big Welcome. You are welcome here. All of your complexities that make up your cultural identity are welcome here. The histories and experiences of your people are honored and welcomed. We welcome you in your exact experience of mental and physical wellness and ability. Your love is welcome here. How you love, who you love, and your understanding of love are all welcome. We welcome you in all the ways your sexuality has and is unfolding. We welcome you in all the ways your gender has and is unfolding. We welcome your open hearts right alongside your skepticism. Your tiredness, it's welcome here. Your loneliness, it can come here too. We welcome your stress. We welcome you in your confidence and insecurities. We welcome your boldness and your timidness, your loud and your quiet, your excitement and your unsureness. We welcome all of the experiences that led you to this moment. We welcome your advocacy for your needs to be met by this space, the part of you that is sad for yourself and your own losses is welcome. The part of you grieving on behalf of the collective, we see you, and you're welcome too. That joy, that optimism, that love of being alive, your emotions, all of them are welcome here. Your quirks and ambiguities are welcome. We welcome the parts of yourself that you're still figuring out. We welcome your wonder and curiosity, your fear, your questioning. The triune God invite all of you to come as you are. Go ahead and just take a deep breath. And just take a moment to notice something around you. It could be notice how it feels where you're sitting. Notice the temperature. Maybe it's something that you hear or smell. Just something that's in your surroundings to help you kind of ground you and bring you to the present. Then when you're ready, you can start to notice how you're feeling. And if you can, try to identify it, right? Maybe it's something that was in the big welcome. Maybe something stood out to you or resonated with you from something I shared. But just see if you can name it. You don't have to analyze it or question it, but just notice it. Try your best not to dismiss it or question, like, why do I feel this way? We just want to be gentle with yourself and just accept what you're feeling right now. And then if you can, try to notice where this shows up in your body. So maybe you feel like tension in your shoulders. Some people carry stress in their back. I kind of have like a little headache right now because I was clenching so much last night. That's my stress showing up. Maybe you're really restless because maybe you're bored or excited. Maybe you're just not into this and you're kind of rolling your eyes. That's okay. That's a feeling. That's an emotion too. And as we close with another song, just continue to reflect and sit with this. And when you're ready, I'd encourage you to do one of these three options. So option 1 is just writing down your emotion and talking to God about it. So you can just literally write the emotion down. You can journal. You can pray. Whatever it means to you to share this with God. Option 2 is to text a friend or call a friend and share how you're feeling, what's coming up for you. And option 3 is to fuel up with someone. So you can text someone, call someone, and share an emotion. And you can give as little or as much context as you want. And then ask for a specific quadrant or nutrient that you need today. So maybe it's like, wow, I just feel so overwhelmed this week. And this feels like it's never going to end. And so I really need some hope and encouragement today and a little perspective. And you can ask for that. And then receive it. And so we're just going to take some time as Daniel closes us out in a song, and yeah, just spend the time how it feels good for you. If it feels good to just continue to explore your emotions, it feels good to share that with God or with others, whatever combination of that feels good to you this morning. Take some time and space to do that right now.